Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm your host, Jeff Howard, and I'm honored to have two actors and filmmakers on Zoom with me because one is back east, one is actually, I think, incredibly close to me. If you think about it, we're both in the beautiful San Fernando Valley.
That's right.
Close to Ventura Boulevard. But I have Skylar Adams and Sarah Lyddan here. Hey, you two.
Hello, hello.
And we just had a wonderful interview about them and their multiple award-winning film, Lonely Night, which at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival in 2021 took home Outstanding Short Film for Our House Experimental, Outstanding Screenplay for Our House Experimental, and Outstanding Performance by a Cast for Our House Experimental. So, and this podcast is not going to be about Lonely Night. This is a 4 questions podcast, which everyone who jumps on this podcast gets to answer the 4 questions, which are 3 favorite films, a film that's underrated, a film that's overrated, and a lesser-known film that people should seek out. I'll add that someday you can watch Lonely Night, I bet, if you go to Amazon Prime Video on a big TV. Don't watch movies on your phone, but go to Amazon Prime Video, type in Discover Indie Film, and you'll see at this point there's at least 6, maybe 7 seasons of wonderful indie shorts. But this podcast is about Sarah and Skylar answering the 4 questions. So who wants to go first with question number 1?
Sarah?
I'll say Skylar. You let me go first last time. Do you want to go first?
Okay, I'll go. Okay. Oh, God, it's so hard to, narrow things down. 3 favorite films. Number 1, Once Upon a Time in the West. That's probably one of my all-time favorite movies ever. Followed, I guess, RoboCop, and The Thing.
John Carpenter's The Thing?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll add we had. Did you watch the comedies when you were on the Filmmakers Board in June?
Yes.
Because I'm going to share a funny thing about RoboCop, if you don't mind. So,
by all means.
Do you remember the film Yellow that was about a yellow rubber duck? Like a guy wakes up and he's trapped inside a yellow rubber duck in a bathtub and can't figure out how he got there?
I think so.
Well, I only bring it up because he said his favorite film of all time is RoboCop. And I said, do you realize in RoboCop a guy wakes up inside a robot suit and doesn't know how he got there? And he was like, just like your rubber duck. And he went, oh my God, I never realized. So anyway, that's my RoboCop story.
That's interesting.
RoboCop is a brilliant film in many, many ways.
It's funny how, it seems so obvious now, especially, but even now, I talk to some people, I say, it's like this incredible satire, of especially of 80s business and power and wealth. That's also, it's an 80s satire, Jesus metaphor, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, watch it again. And they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. And I just think Verhoeven really took something that could have been really, really terrible and just added so much to it and just makes it infinitely watchable.
Yeah, and the other picks are wonderful for sure. All right, Sarah, you want to give? And by the way, the question is, it tries to be intentional. It's not saying the 3 best films ever made. It's just 3 favorites. So, you want to go, Sarah?
Yeah, like Skylar, it was like pulling my teeth out. It was so hard to pick 3. But where I landed today, it's going to be In the Mood for Love, the Wong Kar-wai, which was a great influence on Lonely Night. The making the intimate epic. I feel like the film trusts its sense of time in such a profound way. There's a sense of mystery. It's not telling you everything, which I really admire in both actors and in cinematography, where it's really clear but not giving it all away. Then I'd say The Great Beauty. I believe that's Sorrentino. It's has one of the best party scenes I've ever seen depicted in film, and it kind of sends up the elitism of art world and even the cinema world, and what does an artist do with the end of a life and the nearing end of a career, and just cinematically it's absolutely gorgeous and raucous and absurd. It reminds me a little bit of Triangle of Sadness. If anyone's seen that, hasn't seen that, go see that.
Good.
And then my third one is going to be Some Like It Hot. I remember watching that movie as a little kid, and I continue to watch it all the time. My sister and I quote it all the time. Just such a delight. It's one of my great dreams to travel with a bob haircut by train to San Diego or some beach location. And of course, it's an absolute delight all around, from the language to the acting to the everything. So those are my three.
It's a special movie, and I always like, whenever people bring it up, I like to add that, I mean, you watch that film and you see there was a lot more to Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, yeah.
Than people give credit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the sense of, comedy genius, physicality, just a depth of pathos. Skylar and I have spent a lot of time talking about Marilyn Monroe recently with the coming out of Blonde. But just such an incredible movie. I absolutely love it, and it was spellbound by her then and continued to be.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Skylar went first with question 1, so question 2, Sarah can go first. That is an underrated film.
This was hard. I feel like there's so many films that are underrated. The one that was on my mind today was, it's funny you say underrated now because the director has now become so famous, but Luca Guadagnino, I feel like I'm not saying that right, but he made a movie called I Am Love in like 2006, 2007, I think. And I'm not sure if it made a splash at the time, but I feel like no one I talk to knows about it. It's called I Am Love. It's led by Tilda Swinton. It's captures the senses, like the sensorial experience of whether it's like of food or like love and seduction. Like there's something so sensorial about the film. Tilda Swinton is one of my favorite actors. I think she is transformational and this incredible creature of cinema in the way that she maneuvers through genre and character and worlds. And I never hear anyone talk about it. And I just think it's a tour de force for her acting wise. And the way that the cinematography evokes the senses is so distinct, and it still blows me away when I think about it today. So my underrated is going to be I Am Love.
Excellent. Love Tilda Swinton. Yeah, I know. And so bitingly funny. Every interview and award show, she's actually the funniest person in the world.
Yeah, one could imagine she'd be very severe, but deeply human and very playful as well, like bitingly funny and kind of playful.
Absolutely. Skylar, what's your underrated?
Again, one I struggled with, but the one that stuck with me more than anything, and I just feel was absolutely robbed because nobody saw it, was Moon. I'm sure people brought this one up before, but it's such a good movie. I mean, Sam Rockwell is so good, and he's playing against himself, and it is a phenomenally well-made movie and just brilliantly acted, and nobody saw it. And it seems like it's such a shame. Nobody like this movie does not get the rating and the attention it deserves.
It never did. Yeah, it got a little bit right. A little bit of the cinephile community sort of has embraced it after the fact, but
yeah,
wonderful film. And the best kind of sci-fi because it's not about special effects, it's about the thoughts.
Oh, yeah, and like the whole thing that I love about it is that like you would think is the twist happens at the very beginning. Like I'm not giving anything away by saying like he's a clone, Like, we get it because that's the plot of the movie. It's not like he just finds out he is very like, oh my God. It's just sort of like, oh shit, now what do we do? And then you have the whole movie for them to determine what they're going to do about it. And it's just like, I love the fact that it gives that away immediately because, and like it goes, oh God, the movie's so good. I love this movie.
Yeah. And the classic film, I think Duncan Jones wrote it the way he did so that if he had to, he could shoot it for almost no budget at all.
Yeah.
And then he managed to raise some money. Yeah, being David Bowie's son probably didn't hurt, but he made just an exceptional film. Exceptional.
Yeah.
Sam Rockwell is just so. And from what I remember, it's a movie that like the sense of time, like you're like that, it was just perfectly fit. Like there wasn't any excess about the film.
Excellent film. Excellent film.
Yeah.
All right, well, Skylar, you get to go first again for
overrated. Oh, I've only ever had one choice with this, La La Land. I hate that movie. Damn that movie. And I'm just like, why are people loving this movie so much? Half the movie's out of focus. I can't see. Not to mention, other things I didn't like about it. La La Land. It's on my list.
Fair enough. This shouldn't be about me, but I'll say I had the same thought. And obviously, I'm also a born Angelino. So the fact that lead character is not even doing her day job well and like being a shitty waitress when like she's a waitress. But anyway, so I was right with you. And then something weird happened to me. I was on a cruise ship and La La Land was basically playing like day and night in the room. And my wife and I tend to like get home and just pop on the TV to fall asleep. And I saw like the last 20 minutes again. I really liked the last 20 minutes, even the first time. And then the next night I saw like 30, the last 30, then the last 40. And then I saw it from start to finish. And I'm like, well, apparently if you watch La La Land enough times, you fall in love with it. I actually fell in love with it after liking nothing about it at first. Now it makes me cry like a little baby. What are you going to do?
Really?
I watched it once and I
lovely.
I don't recommend being trapped in a 200 square foot room with a 30-inch TV watching La La Land over and over. But if you do it, it might change your opinion. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe.
But there's a lot you could do with your life besides force yourself to watch a film you didn't enjoy over and over.
Well, it sounds like you got to learn to accept the things that you can't change.
I know, and actually, I don't know if I've gone back to it since that trip. So maybe. All right. Well, that was a nice detour. Sarah, do you have an overrated?
Well, what's funny is I had one listed, and then Skylar and I, when we were talking earlier, we were talking about it, and La La Land would probably be the biggest one. I was going to say The English Patient. I did not like The English Patient.
Fair enough.
Which I heard was, and I love movies like that. Like I'm someone that will argue that like I thought Shakespeare in Love was fantastic. Skylar thinks it was a crime that it won Best Picture. The English Patient, I just had no patience for. But I also will hop on the just to support the La La Land. We watched it in opening night in a theater full of people. In Hollywood. I also am born in Los Angeles. I was like, oh, maybe this will mean something great. I hated it, but I do feel a lot more positive about it after you shared your experience. So, Skylar, maybe we have to watch it bit by bit.
Maybe. Is that your overrated movie?
Are you sticking with La La Land? Are you doubling it? Are we doubling down, or do you want to name your own? Or do you want or did you sort of throw a little? Did you throw one?
I know.
Out?
I think I'll throw The English Patient as mine, but I want to make sure I support. I want to make sure I want to add my vote in, and I want to cast in my vote as well, just to support that La La Land is overrated.
I'll share that. I don't remember it super clearly, but I do remember in The English Patient, it's 2 or 3 stories separately, and I only love the story with. Juliette Binoche and the guy who played Saeed on Lost. I thought that was a beautiful story. And then the other stuff I didn't really enjoy. So, I liked a third of the film. And then it was like a Best Picture thing. So,
Yeah, I feel like I think it was really built up. It was really built up for me as like the epitome of like cinema. And then I watched it. I remember just feeling very disenchanted or unromanced. And I'm someone that I can be romanced by anything. So maybe it was the moment, maybe it was the circumstance under which I watched it, but I just found it to be really overrated at the time I saw it. Um, but I've only seen it once, and I do think that there are some movies that take just more exploration. So
Well, I won't start this conversation, but I'll briefly say we used to watch films multiple times because we didn't have 10 jillion hours on streaming services at our fingertips, so you used to have a VHS and you might watch it more than once
yeah.
and see subtleties you didn't see before. But yeah, repeated viewing is something we lost to tech, I think.
Yeah, I feel like we don't even buy movies. Like Skylar and I always say we only have maybe like a handful of things that we have bought, but they're of course like, we bought it on Amazon, so it's in some kind of, but even then I maybe have only like 2 or 3 things that I've bought and I watch regularly. So
I have a short list, but it's an important list for me of like movies that are just like, these are the ones that I will own because they're so good.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely. All right, well, final question. Am I forgetting who goes first? Is it Sarah's turn to go first again?
I think it's my turn.
I think so. This is for a lesser known to seek out.
Yes, the lesser known. I came across it only a couple months ago when I actually made kind of a little short film with a classmate inspired by it, and it's called Daisies. And I actually I wrote down the last name of the director to make sure I pronounced it, but it's Vera Chytilova. And it is a anarchic, silly story about 2 young women who decide to channel their rage by kind of just causing chaos. And it was made in I think it was like the late 70s. And it is just an absolute delight. It's super surreal and odd, but I just felt so liberated by it. I love to see like a young female director telling a female narrative that was so chaotic and unorganized and irreverent. It's very irreverent, and I thought that was just absolutely delicious. So I think everyone should check out Daisies.
I love to hear that word. Irreverence. We don't have enough irreverence. We don't have enough comedy, really, but let alone irreverent comedy.
Yeah, and it's a nonlinear narrative, so it's a path less chosen often in a world where we have just so much narrative content. It's a little like nonlinear, but that's part of its like charm and I like you said, there's not a lot of people are really scared to be irreverent, and I think we lose a bit of truth if we're trying to be overly cautious or too reverent. We lose context of things. So,
for sure. All right, Skylar, you get to wrap it up with your lesser known.
Okay, this was hard because I got a list of like 6 movies, and the one that stands out the most. I mean, these other ones are awesome movies. I wish more people seen them because I would love to be able to talk about them. But the one I love to talk about the most, Sarah knows what's coming. And I feel like, again, not many people have seen, and I wish more people would see it, is Mandy. The 2017 Panos Cosmatos film starring Nick Cage, which I would describe as a heavy metal themed, acid fueled revenge fantasy, complete with chainsaw fights and tigers and Nicolas Cage at his cagiest, but in the right way. I feel like he's an actor that when he's in the right picture and is directed well is incredible. And this is one of those movies I think he's incredible in it. And it also has, hands down, my favorite soundtrack to a movie, like the score by Johan Johansson, who did score for Arrival. This was his last film that he scored, and he died before the movie came out. But it's the music is so emotional and just this beautiful, score that goes with it, but it's like very much set in like guitars and, this again, keeping this heavy metal, but fantasy kind of element to it. It's just an incredible movie that when I watched the first time, I immediately watched it again and was just like, I can't believe people are making movies like this again. Where has this been? I love this movie. And it's one that I wish more people would watch.
I think I'm going to have to add that to my list of stuff to watch when the festival wraps, because
Mandy.
You hit a lot of very good buttons there with your description of, and I recall Nick Cage saying not long ago that when people make fun of this recent phase of his life, he deadpan told an interviewer, "I've made some of the best films of my life in the last 10 years. I don't know, everyone's talking shit, but I've done some good stuff."
Yeah, this is on that list.
Yeah, and he did Pig, which both Skylar and I that was on my list of my long list of things to seek out. Yeah, that was another Nick Cage thing where I was like, oh my gosh, they didn't position this with any chance of any awards recognition, but he was just spellbinding. It's one of my favorite performances I saw in 2021. It was incredible. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, before I do my closing wrap up, do you two want to name your social media /websites?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at Skylar Adams, and you can find my work at SkylarAdamsFilm.com.
And you can find me at Instagram. My handle is Sarah with an H, and then last name spelled Lyddan. A little fun there.
Yeah. Did someone else have your last name on there?
No, it started as an inside joke among friends, and just kind of stuck.
Fair enough. Excellent.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. I will go on the closing spiel now, which is this is the Discover Indie Film podcast, which gave birth to the Discover Indie Film TV series. So please check it out. Go to Amazon Prime Video, type in Discover Indie Film. Somewhere along the way, it will autocomplete for you, I swear. And enjoy 6, 7, who knows? By the time you're listening to this, there could be 8 seasons up. Each season is 10 episodes, around half an hour per episode, and just the best. I think it's called handpicked from the festival circuit. Just the best shorts that I have personally seen. So there's that. If you want to learn more about the podcast and that TV series, you go to discoverindiefilm.com. And on social media, it's always at DIFwins. And Skylar and Sarah's film Lonely Night won a couple awards, like I said in the introduction, at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, which starts tonight. Tonight I never go out at night, and tonight I'll be in a bar talking to filmmakers. Woo! So weird to think I'll be doing that after being such a shut-in introvert. But anyway, so the Sherman Oaks Film Festival is held every November. So you can learn more about that if you go to ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at Sherman Oaks FF on social media. It does have a sister festival every June called Film Invasion Los Angeles, and you can learn about that at FilmInvasionLA.com, and it's at Film Invasion LA on social media. And if you're silly and you are a mature adult who enjoys cannabis, whether it's smoked or taken orally. That's a weird way to say it. Anyway, if you're interested in weed, check out thccinema.com or at thccinema. I won't go into more, but it's a fun night we have out here in LA. So what can I say? It's some movies are. I wish we could just have I wanted it to be like the first Tuesday of every month or something, like have it be THC Cinema movie night. But honestly, that's too much work. And I haven't met anyone who will pick up that bucket and carry it to the river for me. So I'll be quiet. Sarah Lyddan, Skylar Adams, thank you both for doing the podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much. It's been such a delight.
And I'm just going to thank everyone who's listening.